Hello, my name is Ben Fry. This is an assignment for my graduate course EDU 528 through William Woods University. This assignment asked us to take a wish list that was put together by the fellow classmates and act as an AD with the wish list that they've put together and kind of approve and deny things as needed with a budget allotment that each activity was given. So the first sport that I'm going to go over was boys basketball. They asked for 2 sets of uniforms away and home. They asked for shooting shirts, basketballs, scorebooks, and nets. And I went through their requests, put together this spreadsheet of what they asked for, and then approved and denied or partially approved as needed. So the first thing that I went through and approved was their home and away uniforms. The cost per uniform was $45 and they needed 15 of them for a total cost of $675. And the shorts included in that, $30 per short. They needed 15 of those as well. So I approved all of their uniform needs. I then went and looked at, they had requested some shooting shirts, $45 each, and I approved those as well. They needed 15 for $675 total dollars. Their second priority item was new basketballs. And each of those basketballs cost $64.99. They requested 10, and I gave partial approval, allowing them to purchase 7. Their third priority item was new scorebooks to keep track of score and that kind of stuff during the game, which is a necessity. Those are $12.73 each. They needed 3 for a total cost of $38.19, and that was approved as well. And then their fourth request item was nets. Those are $13.59 each. They requested 12 for $163.08. I gave partial approval and recommended that they purchase 4 for a total approval cost of $3,472.48 out of their $3,500 allotment. Now, what my rationale was, or my reasoning as to why I didn't approve all of it and I gave partial approval on some of the items, was simply purchasing 10 basketballs would put the program over the allotted budget. So I recommend that they purchase 7 and cycle cycle through some of the older balls, and if there's some that they're willing to part with, either donate them to the school or whatever needs to be done. But purchasing 7 new ones will allow them to use new basketballs and get rid of some of the worse off balls. And then my partial approval of the nets, that was simply because, again, it will put them over the allotment. The nets were relatively cheap, so I recommended that they purchase 4 and then kind of cycle through the old nets, replace any of the worse off nets with the nets that they are putting, with the hoops that they're putting the new nets on. And 2 of those new nets will go directly on the competition baskets. And those are usually replaced every year. So every year you're going to have decent nets, 2 decent nets getting recycled and put on some of your practice hoops. The next sport was baseball. They also requested 2 different jersey tops, $85 each and they needed 15 for a total cost of $1,275. I'll note their total allotment was $4,500. They also requested, their second priority item was game balls. The cost per ball was $10. They needed 48 of them, so $480. Their third priority item was practice balls, $3 each. 60 was what they requested, so that was $180. Their fourth item was an L screen. It's a protective screen for pitching, for $549, and that was approved as well. They requested baseball buckets. Cost per bucket was $18. They requested 4 for total cost of $72. I denied this that request. They requested team bats for $220 each. They requested 3. I approved those 3 bats. And then the fungo bats that they requested, $70 each. They requested 3 for $210, and I denied those. My reasoning for the denying those, the baseball buckets and the fungo bats, I understand the need for buckets, to collect the baseballs, but they are, in my opinion, a very low priority, and the team bats took precedence. My recommendation were to look for empty buckets around the school or home, and if they're not being used for anything, those are perfectly fine to be taken out to the field. And then the fungo bats, I do understand their purpose. They're not used as often as the team bats will be, and old team bats can be used in place of those fungo bats. So that was my recommendation there, to use old team bats. So their total cost their total approved cost was $4,419 of their $4,500 budget. Volleyball, they requested, their number 1 priority was volleyballs. Number 2 priority was shoes for every player. Their third priority was uniforms, and their fourth priority was scorebooks. I went through everything. You can see their total costs up there. The only thing that was denied on the uniforms were uniforms, and that was simply because most schools have a uniform rotation. My school does, so I kind of based it off of everything that my school does. Our school has a uniform rotation, and the volleyball uniforms will be coming up on rotation here in the next 2 years. So if they can wait, they can get the uniforms paid for by the school and the booster clubs. You'll notice, and I haven't mentioned this before, everything I have, every one of these has an Ask Booster Club to help with any additional needs. So if something on here gets denied and a coach is like, well, I really need that, they can ask the booster club for that. Just know that it's not going to be paid for by the school or out of the activity budget. So the approved cost that they had was $1,484.82 out of their total allotted $1,500. Softball, this is the sport that I put together the priority or the purchase request and priorities. The framed sock nets, that's a training tool. That was my number 1 priority because ours are pretty ratty. Softball pants, we got new uniforms last year. So these are just some additional pants to be able to add to our current stock. A Jugs pitching machine, we currently have one that is broken, and so I have to fix it every time we're going to use it, and then it breaks again, every other time. So it takes constant fixing. While it's not the number 1 priority, because I can always do front toss or have the girls pitch through our protective screen, it would be nice to be able to set up the pitching machine out in the batting cages to let the girls go out there and kind of work whenever they wanted to. The rubber indoor throwing balls, this is for our throwing program that starts usually January or February, and that's a high priority item. It is lower on the list because we do currently have some, they're just getting wear and tear on them. And then Some team bats. I requested 2 Easton Ghost bats. And you'll see the only thing that was not fully approved was that team bat. It is the number 5 on our priority list. My reasoning behind not purchasing both, number 1, my budget wouldn't allow for it. Number 2, most girls on the team have their own bat from when they played travel ball, or they go out and they purchase their own bat. The team bat would be for the few girls that don't supply their own bat. So in the past we've had 3 team bats. 2 of them are getting old, so that's why I requested 2. But the partial approval, I recommended that they purchase 1, so that gave me an approval cost of $2,403.59 out of the total $2,500 allotment that the softball team was given. Football. You'll see everything on this list was approved. The total allotted amount for football was $12,000, and their total, ask was only $6,174. So I had no problem just approving everything that was on their list. But you can look down the list and see everything that they asked for. The last sport was girls basketball, and this one was a little bit different. There was actually a denial in there, and it wasn't because there's a rotation coming up. So this one was, I had to look at everything that they were asking for and look to see if it was a need. You'll also see that there's nothing fully approved on there because what they were asking for was so far over budget. So you'll look, they had backpacks, hoodies, pants, and basketballs on their item request sheet. I denied the backpacks simply because players have other bags, school bags, all that kind of stuff that they can transport their equipment in. They requested 30 of them. After digging into it and looking through more of their information, they have 21 players and 2 managers. So my rationale behind purchase 23 was to outfit everybody currently on the team. So the hoodie and the pants, if they purchased 23, they would spend $1,380 and $1,150 instead of $1,800 and $1,500, which would allow them to then purchase some basketballs with the amount of money that they had left in their budget. So they requested to be able to buy 10 of the Spalding basketballs for $65. I gave partial approval and recommended that they purchase 7 instead of the 10 because of the amount of money left in the budget after the hoodies and pants, the travel suits were approved. So their total approval cost was $2,985 out of their total allotted $3,000. My last slide here is total allotments. You'll see, as I kind of said, we looked at everything that they requested, and I tried to get as close to their total allotment as possible to accommodate and get them what they were asking for. Now, if this was the total amount that they had in their account, now each sport needs to fundraise to replace that money because it will put them pretty close to zero after their requests. So I hope you found this informational, and this is just, like I said, an assignment, but hopefully this is kind of a representation of what it would be like if you put together a request sheet and wanted to try and get some new items, new material for your program, and you were given a certain allotment and what it might look like for an AD to try and break it down and make some decisions after your request came in. Thank you.